Hi, I'm Ashley with Bread Beckers, and today I'm going to walk you through programming your Zojirushi Virtuoso Plus bread machine. We've got some other programming videos already on our YouTube channel, but those are for older model Zojirushis, and this is the latest model from Zojirushi. Again, this is the Virtuoso Plus. So slightly different from some of those older models, and so I just want to walk you through setting that. Now, I want to tell you that all of what I'm about to tell you is in the owner's manual that came with your bread machine, and the overview of the homemade course in particular is on page 28, 29, and 30 of your owner's manual, and then there are some great troubleshooting tips also further back in your owner's manual. So we're going to start. I'm going to switch to the overhead view. I'm going to flip the bread machine around so that I can see what I'm doing and so that you can see an up close view of the display screen. So let's start. So one thing that's different about the Virtuoso Plus is that the name of the course isn't really in the display screen anymore. Some of the older models actually had the names of the different courses around the display screen. And now on the front side of your lid, you have the different courses and what number is associated with them. So the homemade course is what we predominantly use here at the Bread Beckers, and it is course number 15. So you're going to start by pushing your course your select course button, the arrow up, until you get to the flashing 15, so that's homemade. Now within the homemade course, you actually have 3 different programmable times. So you've got memory 1, you've got memory 2, and you've got memory 3. And I'll talk about some different ideas for using those 3 different memories. But for memory 1, which it's very, very faint, but it says it right up here in the top. It says memory 1, 15 is flashing because that's the homemade course. This is going to be for my start to finish fully baked loaf of bread. Now, we give recommended starting times in our Bread Beckers Recipe Collection. The basic dough recipe underneath that, we've given you the suggested times to start with. Now, depending on how old your recipe book is, the very first cycle that your bread is going to go through says preheat or rest in the cookbook. On the Virtuoso Plus, we're going to select the arrow up on the cycle, and then the word rest appears next to the number 15, which is our homemade. So we've got 15 is our homemade course. We've got memory 1, this is going to be our fully baked loaf of bread, and we have hit the cycle button up so that it tells us that we are setting the rest cycle or the preheat cycle. This cycle does slightly warm the machine, and it regulates all of the ingredients' temperatures so that they're all together, and it stabilizes the temperature that your ingredients are. So we love this feature, especially, and I'll talk more about this in a second, but if you use the delayed start feature on this machine, then making sure that you have at least 15 to 18 minutes on that rest is going to be perfect so that it brings all of your ingredients to the same starting temperature. So we're going to now use our time setting, and we're just going to go up to 18 minutes. And once we get to 18, went too far, so down 1 to 18. Now we're going to hit our cycle up to go on to knead. And in our Bread Beckers Recipe Collection, we suggest the Zojirushi bread machine, especially the models with the 2 paddles in the pan. We're going to set our knead time to 20 minutes. Once this is set, we're going to hit the cycle up to go to the next one, which is a shape. Now, we don't typically use this feature, so we're going to leave it off, but here's where you would want to use the shape. Let's say you're wanting to make a cinnamon swirl bread, but you want to let the machine knead, and you want to let the machine also rise and bake your bread, but you're wanting to get that cinnamon swirl inside your loaf. By setting the shape, maybe you want to give yourself an hour. It looks like the shape is an hour or off. Those are your options. So let's say you wanted to take your dough out, you wanted to roll it out, you wanted to completely fill it with cinnamon swirl, roll it back up, and then put it back in your machine. This will give you that time to do that. Now, if you use this feature, you're probably going to set your rise times for way less and maybe even skip an official rise time, because an hour is a really long time to get dough, filled and put back in the machine. So you probably could use that hour, shape it, put it back in, and not have your rise times on at all. But since we're just going to let this fully bake our loaf of bread, we're going to leave the shape cycle off. Then we're going to go up. Now we are to rise 1. We're going to set this for 45 minutes. You can hold the time button and it'll go quickly in 10-minute increments. And no worries if you go over, because you've got your down arrow. That's a nice feature of the Virtuoso Plus. Some of the older models, they only had an up arrow. So if you went past the number you were shooting for, you had to go all the way back through to the end and start back over again. So this is a great feature. So now we've set rise 1 for 45 minutes. We're going to select the cycle up button and go to rise 2. I'm going to set this for 30 minutes. Now this is the cycle that is easily changeable depending on where you live and the time of year. If it is very hot and humid where you're at certain times of the year, then rise 2 may end up being a lower time. If it's the winter time and it's dry and cold, your bread may need a little bit longer in rise 2 to rise. So this is typically the cycle that gets adjusted the most depending on the time of year, the season that it's in, and the weather outside. So now we're going to hit our cycle up. We are going to leave rise 3 at 0. We actually only utilize 2 rises in the Zojirushi, but you are welcome to do whatever you like. And then we're going to cycle up to bake, and we're going to put this at 45 minutes. Now, if it is hot summertime, there's lots of moisture in the air, it might be good to go ahead and bump this up to 50 minutes bake time. Just give the dough a little bit longer to bake to make sure that it gets completely done. And then we're going to cycle up one more time, and we've got a keep warm feature, and we typically leave this off. You could certainly set that time if you wanted to. So now all of our cycles are programmed, and now we're just going to hit the start button to lock all of those in. Now you may notice that the time changed here to 12:31. That's because when you first get your Zojirushi bread machine, you're actually going to set the clock. It has an internal clock that you set. And so then whenever you use any of the cycles, it's going to tell you what time of day it's going to be finished. Now, my light came on here, and it's saying that we're in rest mode because it has already kicked on. Because typically you're going to program this when you are ready to actually start. So since I don't have any ingredients in and don't even have my pan in here, I am going to hold down the cancel button so that turns off. So there's that clock so that you can see what time it is here currently. And if I had chosen and if I had put all my ingredients in and was ready to go, then I would select course. We're going to go ahead and just do that. It's memory 1. 15 is flashing. It's 2 hours and 38 minutes total. And then when I hit start, the time is going to change and it's going to tell me what time of day it's going to be finished. Now, let's say this is first thing in the morning. I'm getting ready to leave for work, and I want a hot loaf of bread ready for me when I get home from work. Well, then I'm going to select my course to 15, homemade, memory 1, fully baked loaf of bread. But now I'm going to use the timer feature. And I am going to, now I've got a flashing clock here, time, and I'm just going to use the timer, and I'm going to up, and I'm going to tell it that I want this done at 5:30 p.m. when I get home from work. Now I could put my pan with all my ingredients in there. I could hit start, and it's going to count down, And when it has 2 hours and 38 minutes left, the machine's going to kick on, and at 5:30 this evening, I am going to have a fully baked loaf of bread. This is also really handy if you're putting all your ingredients in the night before and you go to bed and you want a fully baked loaf of bread at 7 tomorrow morning when you get up. So that is a great feature. Another thing we really like about the homemade course and the fact that we have a memory 1, a memory 2, and a memory 3, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit cancel on that. I'm going to select a course so that it's flashing 15, but now I'm at memory 2. So let me show you what we have set in memory 2. So in memory 2, we have rest is off, we have need set for 20 minutes, and then we have shape off, and we have rise for 15, and that's it. So we have kneading for 20 minutes, rise 1 set at 15, and that is it. And this course is a total of 35 minutes. Now this is if I want to have dough ready for me in 35 minutes. I can throw all my ingredients in, select course number 15, homemade, memory number 2, and in 35 minutes, I'm going to have a kneaded ball of dough that has rested or risen for 15 minutes. And I can then take that dough out and I can make hamburger buns, pizza crust, or a loaf of cinnamon rolls. I just need dough, and I need dough ready quickly. Now, I will also use this feature, the timer or the delayed start feature, with memory 2 if I need dough ready for me at 7 o'clock in the morning, or if I need dough ready for me at 5:30 when I get home so that I can make pizzas or hamburger buns or whatever, and I want the dough ready for me at a certain time. Then I will use this memory 2 settings, and I will use the delayed start feature. Now, another great suggestion for using memory 3, there's a couple of different options here. If you live in a climate that is drastically different from summer to winter, remember I said that rise 2 is critical during certain times of the year. You may need it to rise longer, you may need it to rise less, depending on the weather and the temperature in your home or outside. So rise 3, that is, or not rise 3, memory 3, excuse me, is a great course to use for the opposite season of memory 1. So you can have memory 1 for your summer settings and maybe memory 3 for your winter settings. And that way you're not having to go in and adjust those cycles and those times, and you can have them set that way. But all 3 of them, memory 1, memory 2, memory 3, are all programmable, and you can set them however you like, however many rises you want, 1, 2, or 3, and of course, however long you want it to bake. So select your course to get to 15, and memory 1, 2, and 3, and then use your cycle buttons and your time buttons to go through and set each cycle. So I hope that has been helpful to you of knowing how to set your Zojirushi Virtuoso Plus bread machine. If you have any questions, please reach out to us either by email, support@breadbeckers.com, call us at the office 770-516-5000. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you are notified whenever we publish new videos like this, and of course follow us on Facebook and Instagram. I hope this has been helpful to you. Please feel free to watch other videos that we have published here, and hopefully we'll see you next time.